You only found out about the party because of a cousin's Instagram story, some filtered boomerang of crystal flutes clinking under chandeliers with the caption, "Proud of Uncle Sar legacy. Night." You stared at it for a long time, not even angry, yet just hollow. It didn't even feel real at first. A whole banquet thrown for your father's retirement. A legacy celebration. His next chapter. And you, his firstborn, his so-called successor, weren't invited. Not because you moved away, not because you cut ties, not even because of a fight. You weren't invited because apparently you look poor. Those were your sister's exact words, slipped casually into a call a few weeks earlier when she warned you to maybe dress up a little if you showed up anywhere public. You'd brushed it off, then half laughing, half aching. But now, watching the endless stream of champagne and matching gold dresses pour across your feed, the echo of that insult rang different. Sharper. Meaner. You always knew your dad liked appearances. Ever since you were little, he had this thing about making you comb your hair flat for church. No scuffs on shoes, no stains on your shirt. You thought it was just a dad thing. But later you realized he wasn't trying to raise you. He was trying to design you, make you look polished enough to pass as one of them. But you never quite passed. Even when you worked at his company running teams, delivering results, bending over backwards to prove your worth, you never dressed the part. You liked linen, wore muted colors, drove an old car that ran like a whisper. You thought competence would speak louder than clothes. You thought love didn't require labels. Turns out you thought wrong. You kept refreshing the feed. Every new photo felt like a deliberate omission. Your cousins, your childhood neighbors, even some of your dad's old competitors, people who once tried to sue him, were there all lined up beside the man who raised you like they belonged more than you ever did. You checked your inbox. No message. You scrolled through your texts. No invite. It wasn't an accident. That much was clear. They didn't forget you. They excluded you. And in that moment, sitting in the quiet of your kitchen, lit only by the flicker of a dying fridge bulb, something inside you tilted. Not snapped. No, this wasn't rage. Rage burns hot and quick. This was colder, slower, the kind of shift that doesn't scream it studies. You picked up your coat. Not the nice one, just the one that still fit. You grabbed your keys, slid into your beat-up Honda, and drove across town in silence. The whole way there, you tried to convince yourself it was just curiosity. You weren't going to confront anyone. You weren't going to make a scene. You just wanted to see what kind of world your father thought was too glossy for someone like you. When you pulled into the hotel's gated lot, you parked in the farthest corner where the lamplight didn't quite reach. The valet gave you a glance and didn't approach. He didn't need to. Your car told its own story. You stayed in the driver's seat. You watched. Guest after guest stepped onto the red carpet they'd rolled out over the concrete. Sequins shimmered. Laughter rang out like wind chimes in a storm. And somewhere in that glowing building was a father who had once tucked you in, who had once told you bedtime stories about building something meaningful, who had once promised that all of this was going to be yours one day, but it never would be. Because you weren't polished enough, because you look poor, and even now, as you sat there invisible behind your own steering wheel, the only thought louder than your heartbeat was, they don't see it yet, but they will. You leave the engine running not because you're planning to flee, there's just something strangely comforting about the low hum beneath you. Like a heartbeat you can control. You watch the glittering door where familiar faces come and go, bathed in warm light and louder laughs. Your hands are cold despite the spring air. There's condensation on the windshield, your breath fogging faint shapes onto the glass. You don't even try to wipe it away. You recognize the valet. It's Alex, your father's longtime driver's son. He used to come over to your house for pool days when you were kids. He sees you, hesitates, then quickly looks away. That tells you everything. No need to ask. If your being here was okay, he'd walk over. He'd smile. Instead, he stares too long at the pavement. A black Bentley pulls up and out steps your sister in a gown that costs more than your rent. Her heels click the pavement like punctuation, sharp and decisive. She poses in front of the gold backdrop with the custom hashtag, legacy built. You can't help it, you mutter under your breath. Built on what, though? The valet hands her a tiny purse she didn't need to carry. She glances at her phone, then at the entrance, probably wondering if your father's noticed her yet. For a second you wonder if she saw your car. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't care. There's an entire world happening inside that hotel, a curated reality where no one struggles to be seen, where no one is told to change to fit. You know that world. You grew up in its lobby, but you were never handed a room key. Your phone buzzes. A friend from college. Hey, your dad's party looks wild. You in there somewhere. You don't answer. Instead, you open the camera app and quietly zoom in. The decorations are tasteful, expensive, in that discreet way only people with old money understand. You catch a glimpse of your dad walking through the double doors, tanned regal, carrying a whiskey glass like it's part of his hand. He looks light. Lighter than you remember. Like the weight he used to carry raising a family is finally gone. You don't blame him for wanting a clean finale. But what he doesn't realize, what no one in that building realizes, is that stories don't end when someone leaves the stage. They end when the ones written out start writing their own. Still, you don't move. There's something strangely powerful about watching from the outside. You're not begging for a seat at the table anymore. You're studying the table. How it's built. Who it serves. How fragile it actually is. And you notice things now. Small things. Like how half the guests check their reflections in the windows as they pass. How none of them are laughing when they think no one's looking. How the photographers direct every pose like a commercial. This party isn't a celebration. It's a set piece. You stay for nearly an hour. Then, just when you think you might leave someone inside, look straight at you. It's your father. Through the glass, past all the people you lock eyes for the briefest second. He's smiling at someone else, but the smile falters when he sees you. It's not recognition. It's calculation. He wasn't surprised you were here. He was surprised you stayed. He leans over to whisper something to a man in a gray suit. That man turns his head and gestures to security. You already know what's coming. You've overstayed your welcome at a party you weren't invited to. You turn off the engine. You wait. You want to see what it feels like to be officially removed. Two men in dark suits walk into the lot, scanning cars like cops in a mall garage. One taps on his walkie. The other heads in your direction, already rehearsing his polite but firm script. You roll down the window halfway and meet his eyes before he even speaks. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you. I know you say. There's no fight in your voice. Just calm, collected resolve. You put the car in reverse and back out slowly, never breaking eye contact with the building. With the man inside it. With the legacy you helped build and were denied entry to. And as you drive off into the dark, no music, no destination in mind. You're not angry. You're awake. Sometimes the clearest view of a kingdom is from the other side of the moat. And you're already planning how to build your own. You leave the engine running not because you're planning to flee. There's just something strangely comforting about the low hum beneath you. Like a heartbeat you can control. You watch the glittering door where familiar faces come and go, bathed in warm light and louder laughs. Your hands are cold despite the spring air. There's condensation on the windshield, your breath fogging faint shapes onto the glass. You don't even try to wipe it away. You recognize the valet. It's Alex, your father's longtime driver's son. He used to come over to your house for pool days when you were kids. He sees you, hesitates, then quickly looks away. That tells you everything. No need to ask. If your being here was okay, he'd walk over. He'd smile. Instead, he stares too long at the pavement. A black Bentley pulls up and out steps your sister in a gown that costs more than your rent. Her heels click the pavement like punctuation, sharp and decisive. She poses in front of the gold backdrop with the custom hashtag Bajar Legacy built. You can't help it, you mutter under your breath. Built on what, though? The valet hands her a tiny purse she didn't need to carry. She glances at her phone, then at the entrance, probably wondering if your father's noticed her yet. For a second you wonder if she saw your car. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't care. There's an entire world happening inside that hotel, a curated reality where no one struggles to be seen, where no one is told to change to fit. You know that world. You grew up in its lobby, but you were never handed a room key. Your phone buzzes. A friend from college. Hey, your dad's party looks wild. You in there somewhere? You don't answer. Instead, you open the camera app and quietly zoom in. The decorations are tasteful, expensive in that discreet way only people with old money understand. You catch a glimpse of your dad walking through the double doors, tanned, regal, carrying a whiskey glass, like it's part of his hand. He looks light. Lighter than you remember. Like the weight he used to carry raising a family is finally gone. You don't blame him for wanting a clean finale, but what he doesn't realize, what no one in that building realizes, is that stories don't end when someone leaves the stage. They end when the ones written out start writing their own. Still, you don't move.
There's something strangely powerful about watching from the outside. You're not begging for a seat at the table anymore. You're studying the table, how it's built, who it serves, how fragile it actually is.
And you notice things now, small things, like how half the guests check their reflections in the windows as they pass, how none of them are laughing when they think no one's looking, how the photographers direct every pose like a commercial. This party isn't a celebration. It's a set piece. You stay for nearly an hour. Then just when you think you might leave, someone inside looks straight at you. It's your father. Through the glass past all the people you lock eyes for the briefest second. He's smiling at someone else, but the smile falters when he sees you. It's not recognition. It's calculation. He wasn't surprised you were here. He was surprised you stayed. He leans over to whisper something to a man in a gray suit. That man turns his head and gestures to security. You already know what's coming. You've overstayed your welcome at a party you weren't invited to. You turn off the engine. You wait. You want to see what it feels like to be officially removed. Two men in dark suits walk into the lot, scanning cars like cops in a mall garage. One taps on his walkie. The other heads in your direction, already rehearsing his polite but firm script. You roll down the window halfway and meet his eyes before he even speaks.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you.
I know, you say. There's no fight in your voice. Just calm, collected resolve. You put the car in reverse and back out slowly, never breaking eye contact with the building, with the man inside it, with the legacy you helped build and were denied entry to. And as you drive off into the dark, no music, no destination in mind, you're not angry. You're awake. Sometimes the clearest view of a kingdom is from the other side of the moat, and you're already planning how to build your own. You don't go home right away. Instead, you drive around for a while, looping aimlessly through streets that feel both familiar and alien. City lights smear the windshield, and the glow of restaurant signs flicker like apologies you never asked for. You stop at a red light, and for some reason you think of your 6th grade science fair, the cardboard volcano that didn't erupt because you used the wrong ratio of baking soda.
Your dad stood behind you, arms crossed, lips thin. You should have asked me to help, he said. Not unkind, not angry, just disappointed. You internalized that look. You saw it again when you didn't make varsity, when you picked a major he didn't respect, when you wore sneakers to a family wedding. That same face again and again. Not enraged, just embarrassed by you. And now, tonight, the legacy party made it official. You pull into the parking lot of a late-night diner. The kind with torn vinyl booths and chipped mugs that feel warmer than any toast in a ballroom. A place where no one asks if your outfit matches the curtains.
You sit in the corner, order soup you don't want, and open your phone again. The live stream is still going.
Your father is giving his speech.
You can hear the crowd laughing in the background, the clinking of forks on porcelain, the music swelling between carefully rehearsed stories about tenacity, family loyalty, and the future we've built together. The camera catches his hand, gestures the way he pauses for effect. It's practiced, perfect, hollow. You scroll through the chat, heart emojis, congratulations. One guest says, truly the end of an era. You scoff quietly and stir your soup. He says your name once, and only to say, and though one of my children couldn't be here tonight, I know they're doing their own kind of important work. Not even a you. Not even a we miss you. Just a vague placeholder, a hollow nod to save face. He knew you'd see it. That part was for optics. Like everything else tonight.
You turn the phone face down.
You stare at your spoon. There's a reflection in it, distorted, stretched too long. You remember being told as a kid that bending your reflection meant bad luck. You always believed that. Until now. Now you wonder if bad luck was ever your problem, or if it was just too much belief in the wrong people. The waitress, maybe your age, maybe younger, slides the check across the table before you ask. She smiles in that tired, polite way that says, "You don't owe me anything more than this moment." You nod back, but then she hesitates. "You okay?" she asks softly. You could say yes. You could say it's just a long day. But instead you do something unexpected. You tell the truth. "My dad threw a retirement party tonight," you say. "Didn't invite me." She doesn't gasp or apologize. She doesn't offer shallow sympathy. She just raises an eyebrow and says, "Guess he didn't want to retire with class then." You laugh. Genuinely. A small sound, but it cracks something open inside you. Guess not. She walks away and you sit with that small moment, how honesty, even brief, even with a stranger, feels cleaner than any polished speech. You leave a tip big enough to make her stop and look twice. You're not rich. Not yet. But you've got enough. Enough to make a choice. Enough to build something without needing someone else's ballroom. As you step back into your car, you realize something essential: you're not broken. You're not a mistake. You're not the forgotten one. You're just unfinished.
And suddenly you don't want to prove anything to your father anymore.
You want to build something he can't ignore. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. He had his stage. Now it's time you carve your own. And when the curtain rises, you'll walk in through the front door. You wake up the next morning with the taste of diner coffee still on your tongue and a single thought echoing through your skull. They don't get to decide who you are anymore. It hits different in the morning light. There's a strange quiet that follows rejection, like the world pauses waiting to see if you'll shrink or rise. You don't rush your routine. You don't scroll. You let the water run hot in the shower. You take your time choosing clothes, not because they'll impress anyone, but because you want to feel grounded. You wear the same linen shirt your sister once mocked for looking like something from a monk's closet. It's soft, breathable, yours. By 9 a.m., you're already back in the office, your office technically. Though it's just 2 rooms above a bike shop with flickering lights and an espresso machine that leaks like it's crying for help, it's the first place you ever felt completely in control. You built your startup out of stubbornness mostly. A quiet little software company that your father once called a hobby project. He told you to sell it when it broke 6 figures. Take the money and fold into something serious, he said. But you didn't.
You stayed.
You scaled. And now you sit at your desk, surrounded by whiteboards filled with actual solutions, by clients who come to you not for your surname but your mind. You don't wear a suit. You wear clarity. You wear resilience. You wear the armor of not needing permission. You send an email to your team, simple, clean. Let's aim for our Series B round earlier. Q4. Let's move like we've already made it. One replies instantly. Did something happen?
You type nothing I didn't already know.
Then you open a fresh document and begin drafting a plan. It's not revenge. It's reinvention. It's the clean math of outpacing people who only ever taught you how to follow. You reach out to a few silent investors who passed on your company last year. They were cozy with your father's circle back when you were still being advised to play nice to wait your turn. You craft a pitch they can't ignore, numbers forward, impact centered. No fluff, just fire. Within a week, the meetings stack up. Within a month, the traction becomes undeniable. And one morning, over black coffee and a silent inbox, you receive something poetic, an acquisition offer from your father's former company. They don't even know it's you behind the LLC. You read it twice. You grin slowly, then delete it without replying. Because now it's not about being accepted. It's about being inevitable. At lunch, you walk past a newspaper stand. On the cover is a photo of your father at the gala, smiling like a man untouchable. You imagine slipping a caption underneath that reads, unaware that his legacy just became a footnote. You return to the office and write 3 words on the whiteboard in red marker. We build louder, not fancier, not flashier, just louder. You don't tell your team the backstory. You just push harder. You start refining the product. You cut every unnecessary step. You hold meetings standing. You rewrite the user interface yourself over 2 weekends. And as the days pass, you notice something shift. People start reaching out not just to collaborate, but to align. Other founders, other black sheep. People exiled from systems that said, you don't belong. Your small office begins to feel less like a startup and more like a sanctuary. You walk past your reflection in the window one evening, just a faint silhouette backlit by blue light and ambition. You pause just for a second. You look poor.
No. You look free.
And soon, you'll look unstoppable. Growth doesn't happen with a bang, it creeps in through the cracks. One hire here, one upgrade there. And suddenly, what used to be a passion project with a leaky espresso machine is now an operation buzzing with momentum. The Series B round closes faster than expected. Investors that once politely ignored your emails now chase you like you're holding a map to buried treasure. They don't know what shifted. They ask if you brought in a new consultant. You don't answer. Let them wonder. Let them try to decode a strategy that's really just clarity, purpose, and a dash of righteous silence. Your team expands. The old bike shop space isn't enough anymore. You sign a lease on a glass-walled floor downtown, not because you want to impress anyone, but because you're tired of the ceiling dripping onto the printer. Your staff paints the walls themselves, stringing up cables and optimism like it's their home. You watch them work and think, this is family. This is what I always wanted to build. Then one morning you walk into your new office, and there it is, a floral arrangement sitting on your desk, like a ghost of old politeness. The card simply reads, proud to see you thriving. Let's talk soon. Dad. You flip the card over. Blank. Not even a phone number. Just the name. The same name printed on every building he ever owned. The same name you stopped using for your company on purpose. You don't throw the flowers out. You move them to reception. Let them be someone else's decoration. You have work to do. 2 days later, your sister calls. She never calls. At first, it's small talk. How's the office? How's your little project going? You let her dance around the real reason until she finally says it. Dad's company is in trouble. You sit back, quiet. She rushes ahead like a child who broke something and hopes speed will hide the sound. Their new investments tanked. A major client pulled out. One of the VPs leaked internal documents that show reckless overspending. The headlines haven't broken yet, but they will. And guess what? They want to talk to you. You don't say anything.
They think maybe you could advise, she adds. As if you owe them a parachute just because you once shared a kitchen.
You let the silence grow roots. Then, calmly, why me? You know why she snaps. You're the only one he listens to when he wants something. The words feel like a spotlight. There it is. The truth under all the gold leaf. They never saw you until they needed you. You tell her you'll think about it. But you already know. You're not saying yes. Not yet. You just want to see what happens when people who banished you have to ask for a seat at your table. Later that week, you get the official email. Subject request for strategic meeting. It's signed by someone who once introduced you as the artsy sibling.
You forward it to your assistant with a note.
Set it up. My terms. My boardroom. Then you close your laptop and lean back.
You remember sitting in your father's shadow as a kid, watching him command boardrooms with cold certainty? You remember thinking one day I'll get to be like that.
But now you're not like him. You're better. Because you built something that doesn't demand obedience, it invites contribution. Your team doesn't fear you. They trust you.
And when you speak,
people actually listen.
You stand at the window watching the city stretch out beneath you.
There's no party tonight.
But if there were,
you'd be on the guest list first. The meeting is set for Thursday at 10 a.m. Your time, your space, your rules. You don't rearrange your office for them. You don't dress up. You don't polish the floors or ask the team to wear anything different. If anything, you make sure they see exactly what they once dismissed, the thriving ecosystem they ignored because it didn't come in designer packaging. You sit at the head of the table in your open layout boardroom. There's a crack in the window frame behind you. A coffee ring on the table no one wiped up yet. The lighting's too warm. It's perfect. At 9:58 they arrive.
Your father walks in first gray suit, heavier than you remember eyes calculating. His tie is knotted too tightly, like it's holding his whole body together. Behind him, your sister, a VP from the old firm, and someone new, a stiff-jawed consultant in a navy blue power suit who doesn't recognize you on sight. That makes you smile.
No one speaks at first. Then your father steps forward, extending a hand. You've done well, he says, like a monarch giving approval to a war horse that didn't die in battle. You shake it but loosely, like holding a page you plan to crumple soon. Your assistant offers coffee. Only your sister accepts. You notice her watching the wall where a photo of your first team hangs young and underpaid and hungry. You remember that day. They laughed through exhaustion, held up mugs in celebration of breaking even. That photo means more to you than any award your father ever brought home. You sit. Let's get to it, you say. The consultant clears his throat and starts outlining numbers drops in revenue volatility, in partnerships, cultural misalignment. You let him speak. You nod. You even jot a few things down. Then, after 8 minutes, you lift a hand. I'm not here to rescue you, you say gently. You didn't come to me for strategy. You came because you need a name that still holds weight. The consultant looks confused. Your sister looks away. Your father, he looks down. That tells you everything.
You lean forward.
You want the people watching this story unfold to believe there's still a captain steering the ship. And I'm the one they still trust. The VP begins to interrupt, but your father raises a hand. Silence. You continue slow and deliberate. I could buy a controlling share tomorrow. I have the capital. But I don't want control of something that smells like fear. I want something clean. So here's what I'll offer. They all lean in instinctively. You offer to step in not as a lifeline, but as an acquisition. A full merger under your terms. Their name retires. Their execs either reapply or walk. Your branding takes over. No legacy board seats. No golden parachutes. One ship. One captain. Your father's jaw tightens. You'd erase us. You smile softly. You erased me first. The VP scoffs.
You're doing this for revenge.
You look at her evenly. No. If I wanted revenge, I'd have let you burn. The room stills. Then your father finally speaks with something closer to honesty. You really built all this. You say nothing. Just let him look around. At the staff laughing down the hall. At the revenue graphs on the screen. At the wall of thank you notes from clients who'd been turned away by flashier firms. He swallows. What would happen to me? You pause. Then, answer without cruelty. I'd offer you a consultancy. You can stay, advise, but you don't make decisions. You don't speak to the press. You don't shape culture. That's over. He closes his eyes, nods once. Your sister stands abruptly. This is humiliating, she mutters.
You tilt your head. It's fair.
No one argues. By the end of the meeting, the terms are clear. You own it all now, brand, staff, direction. You're not inheriting your father's empire. You're absorbing it, breaking it down to studs and rebuilding it stronger. As they leave, your father turns back one last time. Why now? He asks.
You meet his eyes.
Because I finally stopped waiting for your approval. They walk into your building like guests arriving at a courthouse, grim composed, knowing the verdict is already written. You're waiting in the boardroom, seated in the exact chair your father once dismissed as too soft for serious business. That was years ago. Before your floors buzzed with energy. Before your name got whispered in the same breath as innovation.
Now he enters your boardroom.
And the soft chair, you kept it. You want him to see that comfort can coexist with control. Your team's already in place, not just executives, but the people who built the bones. Your operations lead, your head of design, your quietest engineer who still manages to outthink every consultant you've ever met. They wear jeans, hoodies, quiet confidence. The air is different here. It doesn't hum with tension. It breathes. Your father scans the room like he's trying to spot the familiar in a foreign country. But it's all unfamiliar now, even you. You nod once slow. Welcome. The consultant who accompanied him last time opens a folder but doesn't speak. No one does. This isn't a negotiation anymore. It's a ceremony. You pull up the finalized transition plan on the wall-mounted screen. No jargon, no fluff, just clean pathways. Your company absorbs theirs in stages. Their executives can reapply just like anyone else. Performance will speak louder than legacy. Your father is handed a pen. He stares at the paper, and for a flicker of a second, you think he might not sign. But then, he does. One quick signature. One soft sigh. Your legal counsel collects the documents without a flourish. Done. It's done. No balloons, no applause, just the quiet power of transformation. You lean back, take in the moment. No one's rushing out. There's a kind of reverence to the room, like everyone senses something weighty has shifted, like tectonic plates locking into place. You see your sister standing near, the back arms folded. She hasn't said a word. Her jaw's tight, but her eyes keep darting toward the framed photo on the far wall, your first team again. She's staring hard, as if trying to understand how you turned scraps into steel, and then she does something unexpected. She walks over, picks up a copy of your company's internal handbook, and flips through it silently. No snide remarks, no passive digs, just curiosity, maybe even regret. You don't offer her comfort. You offer her space.
When the room clears out, your father lingers. For a moment, it's just the two of you.
I thought it would feel worse, he says half to himself. You walk to the window. The city stretches out, bright and chaotic. What losing?
He shakes his head. Letting go.
You don't respond. Let him sit with it. He steps closer. I know I wasn't always fair. You turn to him, expression unreadable.
No, you say.
You were always fair by your standards. That was the problem. He nods slowly. His hands are folded in front of him, smaller than they used to look. Or maybe you've just grown. I underestimated you, he says.
You don't say thank you. You don't need his praise anymore.
You just smile faintly. A lot of people did. He glances at the screen where your name, your real chosen name, is emblazoned in minimalist font. Not a brand. A banner. I hope you make it last. You tilt your head. I'm not trying to make it last. I'm trying to make it matter. He nods once, then leaves.
You're alone in the boardroom now.
But it doesn't feel like solitude. It feels like sovereignty. You sit back down, legs folded, and pull up your next agenda item. Because there's no climax here. No dramatic swell. Just work. Progress. Power earned quietly, steadily, like roots growing beneath stone. The room smells like dry coffee and pine cleaner. And freedom. The invitations go out on recycled paper. No gold foil, no calligraphy. Just clean typeface matte finish and one sentence centered at the top. You are cordially invited to a different kind of celebration. No hashtags, no theme. Just an address, a date, and your name, nothing else. You send them to people who used to talk over you. To executives who once told you perception matters more than product. You send them to your father's former investors, to your old professors, to the cousin who called you brave for not showing up to the party you weren't invited to. You even send one to your sister. You don't send one to your father. You hand it to him. In person. He's in the quiet back office you set up for his consulting work. Small, no windows, but functional. He reads the card lips parting like he might say something sentimental. You stop him with a gentle shake of the head. No speeches. He nods, folding the card with a kind of quiet grace that says he finally understands where he belongs now on the sidelines. The event is set on a rooftop, but not the kind with velvet ropes or hired saxophonists. This one's open-air string, lights overhead, long tables with mismatched chairs, and a playlist your interns made that somehow feels perfect. No one wears tuxedos. People show up in sneakers, soft shirts, tattoos half visible under rolled sleeves. The food is catered by the diner that gave you cold soup and clarity. They even bring extra pies. You stand at the center of it all, no microphone in hand, just a glass of lemonade and a loose smile. Your team flutters around you like orbiting moons, bright alive, unafraid to laugh too loud. Guests arrive expecting prestige. What they find is presence. They expected polish. What they get is power with its guard down. At some point you catch a glimpse of your old high school principal hovering near the punch bowl, whispering to someone, "Didn't expect this kind of success from them." You want to walk over and say, "Neither did you expect I'd fund your school's new tech lab," but you don't. You just smile, let them stew in their small surprise. The speech everyone anticipates never comes. You don't feel the need to declare anything. You don't need to outline your journey in front of an audience that once deemed you too soft, too strange, too unpolished to matter. Instead, you move quietly through the crowd, offering little pieces of yourself in every conversation. Not explaining, just existing, just being. One of the youngest interns clinks their glass gently and says, "Can we just thank the person who built this space where we can breathe?" It's awkward, sweet. You raise your glass but say nothing. The moment is enough. Later, as the sun dips behind the skyline, someone nudges you and points. Your sister has arrived. She stands near the edge of the rooftop, arms crossed, expression unreadable. She's wearing jeans, real ones, not designer distressed, and a white button-down shirt you remember stealing from your dad's closet years ago. She walks toward you slowly. "Got the invitation," she says. You nod. "You came late." She shrugs. "I'm still here." For a while you stand side by side in silence, watching the party flow around you. She breaks it first. "I didn't think you'd do it." You tilt your head. "Do what?" "All of this." You look at the laughter, the barefoot dancing near the edge, the sense of real connection that floats through the air like music. You say neither did he. She doesn't argue. Eventually, she slides her hands into her pockets and says, "You were right." You smile faintly. "About what?" "That what we wear doesn't matter. Who we are does. You don't need the apology to be poetic. It just needs to land." And it does. You tap your glass against hers. "Here's to starting late." She taps back. "And finishing different." You never expected him to say sorry. Not properly. Not the kind of apology you used to imagine as a kid. Tears regret the sudden unraveling of a man who finally saw the pain he caused. No, your father doesn't unravel. He stiffens, even in humility. Even now, sitting across from you in your new office, the one with sunlight that pours in like a quiet chorus, he sits with a posture too perfect to be natural. He clears his throat once then again. Says your name like he's trying to soften a word that was never soft. "I wanted to apologize."
You say nothing.
"I see now what I didn't before."
Still nothing.
"You're not being cruel. You're being quiet. You're not withholding forgiveness. You're just not rushing to give him comfort he never rushed to give you." "I know I made you feel..." He starts, but trails off looking for the kind of eloquence that always came easy at board meetings, but falters in the face of real intimacy.
You let him search for a while.
Then, gently, "I didn't want an apology. I wanted a seat. That lands harder than anything else has." He leans back, eyes dimming with something between recognition and regret. I was scared, he admits. That if I gave you too much, you'd outgrow me. You smile faintly. I did. He closes his eyes, exhales slowly. The room stays silent long enough for the clock on the wall to click once,